So today I'm playing 600 buy-in APL Millions Tournament. It's Thursday, so wish me luck. I'm recording myself as well, so I'm excited. I wish I last till the end, but let's see how it goes. Cheers.
Think dentist? Think Dentaglow.
Hi, welcome to Brisbane Poker Club. I'm your host Aman Punia, and today will be taking you to a journey where I was playing APL Millions in Gold Coast. It was a fantastic experience, and there were thousands of players, and there were so many different events. Unfortunately, I didn't have a good deep run in many of the events, but I did manage to cash in 2 games. There was one particular game where I had my camera crew with me, and they recorded me discussing my hands, my history, how I was playing, why I was making certain decisions with you. We're calling this series Becoming a Pro, Aman's Journey. And my hope and my game is that I'm going to document my journey in the coming months and years, and hopefully within 3 to 5 years, I want to become a pro, and I would like to travel in Australia and overseas. So this is the first step of that journey. I hope you like it. And if you have any feedback, please write in the comment section, and I would love to hear from you. Sit back and relax and enjoy this journey. Thank you. So I sat down on the table, and the table seems very friendly. The guy on my right hand side, I played with him in a previous game, and I kind of knew how he plays. I had a guy on my left, his name was Mark, and he was very interesting as well. Very friendly, I'm very comfortable at this table. There was another person on my left hand side, second left. He seems like a professional player. I have seen him playing in different games, but I don't know him personally. But overall, the vibe at the table is very good. We're doing a bit of chit chat, laughing, joking, and they're asking me, am I a professional? Someone is following me and recording me. And I was telling them I'm starting my journey to become a pro, and this will be recorded, and everyone was fine with being recorded. And we're calling the show as Becoming the Pro, Aman's Journey, and everyone was comfortable. So I was having a very good time at the table, and I was hoping to make some right moves, right plays, and take this run deep. So let's talk about the hands which I played during this game. So the very first hand I want you to go through is where I was in the small blind position. I had pocket sixes in my hand, and then I'm looking at the table. The guy in the middle position, he just slammed in, and then the guy in the hijack position, he also called. Now everyone else folded, and the option came to me. Now having a small player in this position is very interesting, because I could actually raise. I could raise min raise or 2x or 3x, or I can simply limp in. So I had to decide what I want to do. And my strategy was I wanted to initially double up as soon as I can, and I really want to make a good solid hand and then try to maximize the value for it. So to do so, I decided to just limp in and try to hit a set. Because once you hit a set, it's very difficult to analyze and put a person on a set, and by the time you do, it's too late. And given that fact, we were in a very early stage of the game, I decided let me just limp in and see what happens on the flop, and we can take the game from there. Big blind just checked, and we were going to see a flop now. Now the flop came very interesting. It was King 10 9 of clubs. So there were 3 clubs already on the flop. Now I was thinking about the range of other players, what they could have. They could easily have a King X, Queen Jack, King 10, Jack 9, King Jack, or Ace X with a club. It was a very complicated board for me, and it wasn't making sense for me to bet at all at that time. So I just checked. The big blind also checked, and the middle position person, he bets 1,000. Hijacks folds, and it come back to me. Now my thought process was my only best hope was to hit a set on the turn, and even if I do so, the chances of having the best hand was not very strong, because someone could already have a straight, they could already have a pair with a flush draw, and it was going to get complicated. So I thought I'd rather wait for a better position and a better situation where I can really maximize the value. So I decided to fold. The big blind called, and then they went to turn. Now the turn card was very interesting. It came a 6. And for a second I tilted, oh, I should have called. But the thing with poker is, we have to deal with the situation and with the information we have at that particular time. And during the flop, with the information I had, the best course of action was to fold. So I was fine with that. Now the big blind check and the middle position person check as well. And guess what? The river came a king. I would have made a full house, a monster hand. But all the poker players know, what if situation doesn't play? How would you know what card is going to come? And I just hope for a better hand next time, and I thought, let go this one and keep on playing. So that was my hand 1. So let's talk about the hand 2. I was in the under the gun position, and I see I have a hand which is Queen Jack. So I decided to just limp in, again because the blinds were 300, 600, and it wasn't a premium hand. And so far I've been getting very bad starting hands, and I really wanted to play a hand. So I thought like Queen Jack is good enough to see the flop, and if someone is going to raise, then I will evaluate the situation at that time, and then we'll go with the flow. But everyone else folded, and it came down to big blind, and he checked. Blinds were 300, 600, so there were only 2 players, big blind and me. So the flop came 10, 9 of queen with 2 spades. The big blind checked to me. I had a Queen Jack. I had a standard continuation bet, so I see bet to 600, and the big blind folded straight away. So I had a little mini win, and that concluded hand 2. So let's talk about hand 3. It was a very interesting hand. I was a big blind, and the blind levels were 300, 600, and the guy in the cutoff position, he raised to 1300. Everyone else folded, but the small blind called, and I called as well. Now the flop comes Queen 4 Jack. I had King 10. So it was interesting. I had an open and a straight draw, and I could hit a king to get the top pair as well. There was no flush draw on the board, so it was rainbow. So the small blind check, and I check as well to the original raiser. So the villain bet 2100. Small blind folds, and given the fact I had open-ender, I had a lot of outs. I could hit my open-ender draw, or I could hit the king, so I decided to call. Now the turn comes 6. Now I check again back to the villain, and he decides to check, and he did a very quick check. So my read was he could be easily having ace king, ace x, and it seems like he didn't really connect with the board. He could have pocket 7s, he could have pocket 8s, pocket 5s, but it more felt like he has an ace x range. And then I decided, let's see what he does on the river, and what card comes on the river. And as soon as the river was dealt, it was a queen. And I was very sure that he doesn't have a queen. He has missed his draw. I quickly gathered my chip, and I donk bet. So I bet 2600 because I was very sure that he doesn't have a queen, and he could have an ace x, ace 9, ace 7, ace 5, perhaps suited. And then I didn't want to overbet as well, because that would come across as a bluff. I wanted to show that I'm doing a value bet for my weak queen, and my read was right. So the person thought for some time, and then he folded the hand, and I won a small but a decent pot. So let's talk about the hand 4. I think this was the most critical hand during the game. I was in the small blind position again, and the blind levels were 300 small blind, 600 big blind, and 600 NT. Now there was one limper from the middle position, and the guy on the button, he also limped in, and I limped in with 10-4 of diamonds. It wasn't a very strong hand, but it was a suited hand, and I decided, because no one is raising, let's see what happens on the flop. And the big blind checked. Now the flop was very interesting. It came ace, 10-4 with 2 clubs. Now I had to decide, what should I do? Should I wait and check and let other people bet, and then I could re-raise? But I have seen this mistake done by so many players all the time, that they're trying to check raise, and as a matter of fact, a lot of times people have a flush draw, or they could have a straight draw, and they rather not bet, and they will check back to you, and they will wait for the turn card, and at that time they already have connected and hit their draw or their flush draw, and you're really not creating value for yourself. So the lesson for me is that, try to create the maximum value in the pot at every stage, because that way, if they don't connect their card, you still have enough value in the pot, and you can raise another, you can raise again in the turn and in the river stage. So I decided to bet decent amount. I bet 2200. Now the pot size was almost a little less than 3000. So I almost did a pot size bet, because if someone is on a flush draw, they need to pay for it. They're not going to see it for free. So as soon as I bet 2200, the big blind folded. The player in the middle position, she flat called, and the guy on the button, he thought for some time, and then he re-raised to 7000. Now that was a interesting raise. I need to think about that. What is he trying to represent? What could be his range? Is he playing on ace 10? Is he on a flush draw? Could he hit a set? The only way for me to act in this situation, I could just call and see what happens on the turn. If there's no club card comes, then I can re-shove and hope for the best. Or I could re-raise right now and try to win the pot. I decided to go with the second option, and I re-raised it to 19,000. The reason for that was, if the person is on a flush draw and the turn doesn't show a club, I can shove it and hopefully win a big pot. Now the person in the middle position, she didn't have a big stack, so she decided to go all in. And then the button decided to go all in. Now it became a very difficult situation for me, because now I had to really evaluate what hands they could have or what range they could have. My feeling was, the person in the middle position, she must be on a flush draw, ace x or king x flush draw, because she didn't seem like very strong, and she was agitated, and she lost a big hand a few hands earlier, and she just wanted to double up or go home. She wasn't making a value bet. I was more worried about the person on the button. So I was evaluating, could he have a set? Could he have pocket aces? Very unlikely. He should have re-raised pre-flop. Could he have pocket tens? Very unlikely. He was on the button, he limped in, he should have raised. But he could have ace, he could have pocket fours. That was my concern, that he decided to limp in with pocket fours, hit a set, now there's a flush draw, he re-raising, and then now he's going all in. Otherwise he could have ace 10, but unlikely, because again on the button he should have re-raised or raised pre-flop. So either he has ace 4 or pocket fours, and I'm unfortunate that I have 10-4, made 2 pairs but not the top 2 pairs, and I really didn't want to gamble my chances, because I was early in the game and I still had like decent amount of chip left, almost 30,000 left. So I decided to fold, and when both the players showed their hand, both of them were on flush draw. The guy on the button, he had 3-5, so he had a gut shot straight draw and a flush draw, and the person in the middle position, she had a king high flush draw, and the turn came a 5, and I think river came a queen of clubs. So both of them hit their flush draw, and I would have been the one who would have lost to both of them. So in hindsight, it was a good fold, but I did lose a significant amount of my chips at that stage. So let's talk about hand 5. So the blinds level was still at the 300, 600, 600 level, and I was again in the big blind position with the queen of clubs and 5 of spades. Now the cutoff raised to 1500 and the button called. I decided to call as well, and big blind also called. The flop came 8-3-2 with 2 clubs. Now the big blind, small blind, cutoff, they all checked, and the button decided to bet 3500. I had no draw, no connecting cards, no option of making a straight or flush draw, so I just decided to fold, and everyone else also folded. So it was a pretty lame hand. So let's talk about hand number 6. So I was in the middle position. Small blinds and big blinds were 400, 800 and 800. So the cutoff decides to call, button also calls, and the big blind checks. Now I had king and 9 of spades. The flop came ace, 10 and 9 with 2 diamonds. So now everyone decides to check, and it goes to button, and who decides to bet 2200. And I had the bottom pair, but there were 3 more players to act after me, and I decided to just fold. That was not a good spot for me. I wanted to wait for a better spot where I can put my chips in, so I folded. So let's talk about hand 7. I was in the cutoff position. I had 5-3 of clubs, so the middle position plus 2 person decided to raise. Blinds were 500, 1000 and 1000 NT. So the middle position plus 2 player raised to 2100, and hijack called, and I was on the cutoff. I also called. So the flop came ace, 2 queen, and everybody checked to me, and I bet 2200. Now it went back, and the guy in the hijack in the middle position, he folded, and the person in the hijack, he decided to call. So now the turn card came, and it was a 5. So I made a pair, and I had a possibility of making a gut shot straight draw as well. So now the battle was between the hijack and between me. So the hijack player again checked to me, and I decided to bet 4600. So the guy in the hijack position, he called me again. Now the turn came 5, and the river was a 9 of clubs. So I had only 1 pair, and I didn't hit my straight draw. So I need to decide what should I do if he bets. But luckily he decided to check to me. Now his range could have been, I was putting him king, queen, jack, queen 10, queen 9, or could be ace x. I didn't really put him on ace because my feeling was he would have raised, and he was acting that he has a semi hand, perhaps a queen, but he's afraid of the ace, and he's putting me on a weak ace, and he's just deciding to call. The only play I had was either I shove it all in and try to get him to fold if he has a queen, because there was no apparent straight draw he could be playing on. The only obvious choice could be queen x. So, and I wasn't sure if he has that in him to call me if I shove all in, or is he going to fold or call. So I decided to slow play, and I just decided to check, and he showed a king queen, and my read was right, and the only option which I had to shove it all in to try to win the pot, and it wasn't worth it at that time. Again, I wanted to have a better hand, double up, and make such plays later on in the game. That was my game plan. So I decided to check and lost that hand. So let's talk about the hand 8, the last hand and the final hand. So I was in the under the gun position and I had pocket nines. The blinds were 500, 1000, 1000 NT, and I decided to raise 2200. It's a decent hand. I could have gone 4x, 3x, but I just wanted to see the flop, raise sort of minimum 2x, and then see what happens on the flop. And if the board comes in my favor, then I could shove all in, or I can make a value bet. So I bet 2200, and a player from the middle position calls. The small blind also calls, and the big blind also calls. Now the flop came very interesting. It was 6, 5, 6, no flush draw, and the small blind checks, the big blind checks. Now I make a small bet relatively to show that I could have a high cards. I could have ace king, ace queen, king queen, ace jack suited perhaps, and I make a value bet of 2600, which was roughly 1/3 of the pot. The middle position player called and the big blind called. I was actually hoping if they could re-raise me, and then I can shove all in on them, because if I bet heavy, and most likely they're gonna fold, because I didn't put any of them on high pocket pair. They could have, you know, high cards with ace 10, ace 9, perhaps queen jack, queen 10, king 10, but they just simply called, and the turn came a 2. Now I bet 5100. The big blind sort of checked to me. I bet 5100. The middle position person thought for a second and he folded. Now it came back to the big blind. Now I know this particular player. He's a good player. I played with him in a previous game, and I remember that time I was playing very aggressive. If I have a very solid hand, if I made a good hand, I was betting very aggressively, almost pot size, and like, you know, 2/3 of the pot or the pot size. So I knew that he thinks that if I have a very strong hand, then I'm gonna bet more aggressively and more strongly. And because I was betting kind of weak, he will think I'm on a draw and I haven't made my hand. And he decided to shove all in on me. I took my time, went through the hand, you know, what his range could be. And I knew I was good. I have pair which is better than the board, and I decided to call him. And I was right, he had a jack 5. So I made him went all in, and I had the perfect hand. So he had only a pair of 5. All I need to avoid is 3 jacks and 2 5s. But as it happened, story of my life, the 5 came on the river and actually got knocked out. So I made the right play. I read the situation right, and I played according to the situation, but it was unfortunate, and sometimes this is how you run. So it was a bit unlucky. I was hoping for a deep run, but I couldn't do it at that time, and I lost with pocket nines, and that was the last hand, and I went out. So far this was the journey which we had. I hope you liked this episode. We're going to make it much better, and this particular series wasn't that great fun for me as a player, but I did have a great experience. I really want to thank the APL Millions team and their crew. They really supported us, and they put a great show in Gold Coast. I was hoping for more deep runs, but where there's a will, there's a way. I will be working hard, studying hard, learning from my mistakes, documenting my leaks, and filling the gaps. And I'm sure in the next series, I will do better, and again, I will share the journey with you. Till then, sit back, relax, and be safe. Have a great day.